Well, good morning and welcome to West Wales. If you're new here, my name is Becca and you're very welcome to my little channel all about semi-retired life in beautiful Pembrokeshire, West Wales. So Millie and I, little dog Millie and I, are on our morning walk and it's a lovely day again. We've got quite a lot of things to get done today. Got beekeeping to do and I've got a bit of just sewing I wanted to get done. Garden always needs doing this time of the year, so busy old day. So why don't you come along, see what we're up to. So this here is what I guess would be called a green lane, and I think it must have been part of the Drim estate at one time, because I'll show you when we get to the bottom of the hill. But there's sort of big old, what would have been gate posts for a big old gate. They're still big, the actual gate posts, but the gate's long gone. And these walls have been here a long time. So whether this would have been the driveway up to the big house, I'm not quite sure. And sort of a little bit further back, and I'll show you at some point, we have what's called the Drim mill. So if you watched the last video, then I was walking by a stream, and that essentially is an old mill race. There are kind of just the natural streams, but there's also a channel that's been dug out that would have fed the mill. And I think it was a mill for grinding wheat or barley, not quite sure. It certainly wasn't a woolen mill. Plenty of woolen mills around here, but that wasn't one of them. Anyway, we're coming down here, and these are ivy covered gate posts. Just behind me are the big ivy covered gate posts, and I'll turn you around properly so you can see them. But I think it must have been quite a grand entrance at one time. You can see they are completely covered in ivy, and underneath there are big old stone gate posts. And it's just the local sandstone. So yeah, can you imagine at one time you would have gone up that hill in your horse-drawn carriage going to a marvellous event at the big house, very Bridgerton. I mean, the big house up there, Drim House, is Georgian. I don't know whether it's all Georgian, but certainly it's got Georgian aspects. So yes, very Bridgerton. So ages and ages ago, I promised you that we would have a look at part of the arts trail. And it's a sort of nature and arts trail that runs all around Fishguard Goodwick. So if you are coming here on your hollybobs, then it's a really good thing to do. And one of my whinges was that the boardwalk around the nature reserve, in theory, is wheelchair accessible. Well, yes, the boardwalk is, but you actually can't get to it. And I will show you what I mean in a minute. So yeah, lovely boardwalk. Dog needs to be on the lead, particularly this time of the year, because you've got lots of birds that are nesting and she would, disturb them. So she needs to be on the lead, but it's a really nice little loop, and you can see the sea and you can see the houses up on the cliff. On the cliff. Are they on the cliff? Yeah, I suppose Harbourside Village is sort of technically on top of the cliff, isn't it? Anyway, we're going to have a look. So here is the boardwalk. And it takes you right into the heart of the moor, and you can see up above the houses that sort of scramble up the hill, and that's Goodwick. And let's stop, try not to make you seasick. And over there, that's Harbourside Village. And as I always say when we do this view, can't see our house, but we live on that side, but you can't see where we live. So we've got the lovely sound of the wind blowing through the reeds. I'm hoping there's not going to be too much wind distortion on this. I've got my microphone plugged in, and I did check the settings because I've got this really bad habit of just pressing record and I don't actually check the settings and I get the sound settings all wrong, and then I'm whispering at you. I mean, I do have quite a soft voice anyway, and it's particularly soft at the moment because I've got hay fever, so I can't really talk properly. I'm a bit croaky. Yeah, so anyway, we'll carry on. So every so often you have these little platforms, and I'll just show you the sculpture. So there you go. I hope you can see that okay. It is so important. It is so important. So I'm focused in, but I think it might be a slightly grainy image when I'm sort of got this much zoom on. Oh, and now I'm being pulled in the other direction by the dog. Yeah, I'm going to make you seasick if I carry on like this. Yeah, so we get to sit on a little bench and enjoy the sounds of the birds and the reeds whispering in the wind. And look at the art. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Wouldn't live anywhere else. That makes it sound like I live on the moor. No, I don't live on the moor, but I wouldn't live anywhere else. I love living in Pembrokeshire. So it's really funny. I was listening back to myself on my last video, and I'm always very conscious. I talk about Wales and living in Wales, and I have this incredibly English accent. And I was listening back to something, and I think I said garden. I can't remember what I said. I was like, oh, there's a bit of Welsh intonation in there. Because as quite a young kid, I had a fairly strong South Wales accent, but we didn't actually live in South Wales for very long because my dad moved around for work. So we lived all over the place. And the longest place I lived anywhere was Somerset. And coming from South Wales to Somerset in the sort of late 70s, as a kid, you learnt to lose your Welsh accent very quickly. And so I have this really kind of weird mixture of Somerset, and then just every so often, a little bit of Welsh intonation just pops in there. And it kind of catches me unawares sometimes. Where, oh yes, there it is. There's my childhood accent that is long gone. Anyway, right, let's carry on with the walk. So here we are at the other end, and I'm just going to turn you around. There's a little bridge over the stream. And again, I shall try not to make you seasick. And there's the stream. And you think, well, that looks wheelchair accessible. Well, the bridge does, and the stream doesn't, unless you are extremely adventurous in your wheelchair. And so we go over the bridge. And we get to the other side, and then there is a rough track. So I really don't know if the council has got plans to do something about this so it actually really is wheelchair accessible. But it's like, oh man, that would be blimmin' bumpy in a wheelchair. You'd probably be all right in a robust mobility scooter, but being pushed in a wheelchair, no. I say that like I have experience. No, I have experience of pushing a wheelchair. Andrew would go, no. So rant over, and we have more art. And there is quite a little sculpture trail all round the twin towns. And now the dog is barking at me because she wants to go home, I think. Right, back to the little blue bungalow. And beekeeping, and fingers crossed we get a bit of sewing done. I am going to try and film some beekeeping. It probably won't be very much detail because I will have to have the camera quite a long way away, so I don't think about it. Anyway, see you in a bit. Well, that was pretty straightforward. I think we've got brood on 8. I know, we've got brood on 8. Quite a lot of wild comb, which is always a bit annoying because they can hide swarm cells. I think next week I will be splitting them in 2, which is called an artificial swarm. And basically it's to try and stop them from swarming, which is what they do to increase their numbers. So they effectively split themselves in half, and what you try and do is mimic the bee's natural habit. And so you sort of split the colony in two, keep the old queen in the current colony, and hopefully the bees go, oh, right, okay, yes, we don't need to swarm because we've already reduced our numbers. We've already swarmed. I mean, it's pretty effective. It generally works. I mean, it doesn't always. Sometimes they get it and they're going to swarm, and they just swarm and they swarm and they swarm. And yeah, bees don't read beekeeping books. So I got a bit of shopping to do in town, and then back to the ranch. Well, not the ranch, the little blue bungalow. So we are beginning of May. Don't really want to do a split in May. Prefer a little bit later. Last week in May, first week in June, but they're doing really well. They've built up really quickly. We do get a very strong spring build up around here because of all the wildflowers. And we have an early season, you know, we have a much earlier season than most of the UK. There's this great little saying. So a swarm in May is worth a bale of hay. A swarm in June is worth a silver spoon. A swarm in July is sure to die. We were told that little rhyme as kids when my dad was a beekeeper by the farmer who we lived next door to. And his mum had been a beekeeper and had sort of said this little rhyme to him, and he said it to us. So, yeah. I mean, I was thinking about splitting them this week. So I think I'm going to be up here again in a few days' time because I just want to double check them. Because I think with all that wild comb, it was really difficult to tell. And rather than drawing the comb out nicely, they were kind of making big lumpy bumpy bits, which is really annoying when they do that. And you can sort of take it off, but there was brood in there, and it's a little bit windy. I didn't really want to start messing about if I didn't have to. So we will see in maybe 5 days' time, see what they're doing. Right, it really is back to the ranch this time. Not ranch, definitely not ranch. Anyway, see you in a minute. So this weaving is just over 2 meters long. So what I've done is I've pinned it, or put pins in, into thirds. Then I'm going to sew either side of those pins, just straight stitch. Cut it, always a bit scary. Then put it together edge to edge and decide what I'm going to do with these cut edges. Right, time to get the sewing machine out. So I have Frida the Frister Rossmann set up, and I'm just going to pretend I know what I'm doing. And I might actually have to put my specs on because I think I probably need to see what I'm doing as well. This is a fairly open weave. Stitch line as a guide, and just do it the width of the foot. Yeah, ran out of bobbin. I'll have to wind a bobbin. Oh, I have got a bit on here, an end, but it's a bit bright yellow. I don't think I really want to use that. I've got something that's a bit... well, this is nearly empty, so I can just take this off. I always find it quite amazing that I actually remember how to use this machine, because it really has sat in a cupboard throughout the last 20 years. Oh, it's not winding very evenly. Moment of truth. I'm going to cut between the two straight stitch lines. I mean, straight stitch, it's a bit of a misnomer because I've gone a bit wibbly wobbly. So that's sort of the nature of the fabric. And oh, I haven't put my pins away. What have I just done with my pins? Have I attached them to the bottom of this fabric? No, I haven't. Okay. Then, okay, don't look too closely at that because that's a horrid mess. And that's a bit of a horrid mess as well. Okay, now, am I going to hand stitch that, or am I going to put that? I think I'm going to hand stitch it. I am not short on random bits of yarn. So I have a tapestry needle, many random bits of yarn, and I'm just going to sort of, I don't know, whip stitch, something like that. I don't really know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to try and sew them together. And so the middle one is the shortest one, so I just want to make sure that I should have measured it a little more accurately. I just sort of, slapdash folded it in 3 because I am a bit slapdash sometimes. So I'm going to cut. Am I going to cut that off, or am I going to create? No. Change of plan. I'm going to match them up this end and do something about that in a minute. Talk amongst yourselves while I figure out what it is I'm actually doing. And maybe I should go away and research what stitch I should use. Maybe that would be a cunning plan. But my feeling is what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of stitch it on top with yarn, wool, hand spun, whatever you want to call it. Then I might just put a bit of a zigzag on top of that. And see what happens. Now, this might seem like I'm spending an incredibly long amount of time messing around with what is essentially going to be a dog blanket. But there is method in my madness, as I am trying to come up with a method for... oh dear, this is all going horribly wrong. I'm trying to come up with a method for making larger bits of cloth Come on, if you lie flat like that, I can just hide you in there, can't I? Yes, so I want to make larger bits of cloth to make skirts and jackets and things like that. And I know it's quite possible to make it from just the very narrow strips. And I also know it's possible to make a double width on a rigid heddle loom. But I've been pinning on Pinterest like a crazy person, and there is this Japanese maker that makes panels of fabric up and joins them horizontally. And she doesn't match the kind of the weaves, and it's all a bit random. And being a sort of slightly random person, I rather like it. But yeah, I think this is a technique I'm going to use for the moment. And then we will see how it looks. It might look completely terrible, but it doesn't matter because the dog doesn't mind. Right, okay. Well, I'm going to carry on with this and I'll come back to you when it's one piece of fabric. Ta-da! Fabric. I have learned a huge amount doing this, and it needs washing and blocking and hemming, and it is a bit wibbly wobbly because I got the tension all wrong on the loom, but you know, this is definitely a learning exercise. Right, well, there you go. I'm going to have a cup of tea and go for a walk. Oh, honestly, behave yourself.